Hello, everyone. This is the first gathering recording of the tribe of Humankind. It's intention to get people together to talk about the spiritual evolution of our species. We're here to check in with where we are, what we understand to be happening, and what our highest vision for humanity is. And then to also discuss how we understand the best way to arrive there is. It's a place to practice our best versions of ourselves with each other, and to not necessarily find what's right or wrong, but to find a way to hold even opposing views and still work together towards a mutually beneficial future that we can all be inspired by and excited about and participate in. So today is Friday, January 13th, 2023. My name is Shane Osharua Alexander, and I'll be your host this evening. And now I'd like to turn the floor over for each one of our four guests tonight to introduce themselves, let us know their name, where they're calling in from, maybe even a little bit more information of where you grew up, what you're currently involved in life right now, and a little bit of what landed you here in this circle tonight. So anything in there that you'd like to say in just 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes tops for each person to kind of say hello and introduce yourself to the audience?
Thank you. So I can start.
Yeah.
I'm Clara, and I'm calling in from southern Germany today, edge of the Black Forest, close to the Swiss and French border. So yeah, and I grew up in northern Germany actually, but have moved around quite a bit since. I studied in England, met my now husband there, and then moved via Berlin back to the place where I spent my teenage years. And it was the calling back to the forest, back to nature, that had me move away from the city and back to the woods, essentially, back to the small town. And what's really present in my life right now is really the journey into the mystery and the journey of a mystic, and really the journey of being and feeling into the vision and mission that I have for this lifetime on this planet. And that's a mystic one. And that is what's really, really present for me right now. And that's also what called me to this, because it all always comes back to the bigger vision for humanity and for this planet and for this huge potential that I feel for all of us and for the future of Earth.
Beautiful. Thank you, Clara. Would you like to mention your website or your newsletter that you put out?
Yes, so you can find me on, the website is called theweaverskinship.com, and you can find me on Instagram at New Earth Weaver. So I just started afresh this year on Instagram there. So it would be lovely to see some more faces over there.
Thank you, Clara. All right. Who's next? Who would like to introduce themselves?
I can go next.
Yeah.
Rua, the full name that has been given to me by my guides is Rua Viera Lalitu Rain, and I'm here in Maui. Tomorrow is actually my 8 years on these islands, and I feel very grateful, very gracious to be living on the newest earth on the planet as it's being formed still, with the lava and the volcanoes and this consistent reciprocity with the elements here. Originally, I'm from Louisiana. I grew up as an only child in the Cajun French country, swamplands, and just kept going west and found myself here. And I live and work on a bamboo farm, Whispering Winds Bamboo Cooperative. and we are a growing community. So I feel very passionate about community development. I see this land being the perfect blueprint for the village that I've been envisioning for years and maybe lifetimes. And so I'm here, very long-term visions and active stewardship here on this land. It's about 100 acres. Some of it is state land, and it just goes up, bordering Haleakala, which is an inactive volcano, and just all the way up into the nature and almost all the way down to the sea. And so it feels like a very huge blessing. I am a devotee of truth. I've given my life and my soul to truth and my heart. And so the way that that looks for me, I work a lot with plant medicine. And so I'm on the path plant medicine woman. I have known that I am not meant to have a family in this life, but that my path is with the medicine, primarily grandmother, ayahuasca, but also other plant medicines, mushrooms, and the ganja as also support, and dieting with other plants as well. I support people in integration and deep evolutionary processes before, during, and after medicine work, but also trauma informed, whether medicine is involved or not, just trauma informed space holding and deepening. And I'm also a ritual tattoo artist. And so I open containers for that, for skin art, for invoking different pieces for people to embody and display on their skin. And I just love community connection. I'm here because I see I have a superpower of foresight, and I see where we're headed in the new earth, and it's very clear to me. And I am grateful for this opportunity to be able to have these discussions and to be able to share the guidance that comes through my channel. So I'm appreciating all of you in this moment.
Yeah. Thank you, Rua. Yeah. Thank you for the in-depth introduction. Felt really good. Felt really good.
Cool. You can find me Instagram, Wild Truth Magic, Wild spelled with a Y, WYLD.
Wild Truth Magic. All right. And we can put links to all of that when we post these videos as well. But we want everyone to network together and find each other and work together, be inspired. All right, let's meet our other two guests this evening.
Yeah, I'll go next. It's nice to see everyone. My name is Mano. It's short for Minojan. And I was born in Sri Lanka. I grew up there for the first 14 years. And then I moved to Toronto. And from Toronto, I lived in Germany for a year. I've traveled around Central America and Europe. And I've lived in BC the last 4 years. Now I'm living in Florida. So a little bit of everything. And I like to learn a lot about, why I'm here, why I'm sent here, what's the purpose of humanity. A lot of these questions, these are the questions that intrigues me, excites me, keeps me up at night, understanding. So it's beautiful that we are creating this channel, this medium where we can discuss this with the other folks and hear different perspective, point of views, and really bring that humanity together. I think that's something I definitely see. And I definitely contemplate with the idea of, am I meant to be in a community, or am I meant to thrive integrated through the matrix? Because when I was living in BC, I was living in a community, like what Ro was saying, and it's something I really loved. Just really enjoy being in a community, in the nature. It was like 23-acre property. There's a waterfall, like beautiful mountain, lakes not too far. And at the same time, I do question where I am. I just did a deep, intensive, like almost 3 months Aya journey, just living at the center, working with the medicine on an ongoing basis. And a lot of guidance that's coming my way now. It's to integrate back into the matrix. So I
Mm,
feel like I'm being pulled between my love for the forest and wanting to be in the forest, and this messages of being integrate back into the matrix. And so I'm in that in between right now.
mm.
So I'm curious to see what more insight may come through these conversations, and see what ways I'd be able to bring in my insight and see what my heart desires are. Thank you for the space.
Yes. It's a pleasure to have you here, Mano.
Okay, my turn. I'm from England, and my journey has been to sort of experience as consciousness and hold on to it and fight for it and not back down and experience everything that comes with that, and remain curious, remain playful, remain excited by all possibilities, whilst experiencing the world we're all experienced of, which is quite mundane and strange, and gradually coming to terms with what is actually happening here, and why isn't the stuff that you think would be happening? Why aren't people just happy and nice? And why isn't everything much more colorful and bright and lovely than it is? And you ask those questions, and I've asked those questions, and I've kept going with those questions, and it's like I'm like the consciousness equivalent of running marathons every day, you know. So I'm less cheerful than most New Agers and spiritual people. I'm not into any particular religious dogma, and I see myself as just consciousness trying to create a vocabulary in the now, in the present time. So not using stuff from the past, and not automatically joining in using the same vocabulary as everybody else. And so I do that, and I try and do that as often as possible. And so for me, the best way I could describe that is that I'm trying to understand and describe accurately everything, the true nature of self, the true nature of reality. It's a huge subject. I didn't know what to say about myself, but that's me. That's what I'm up to. So there you go.
Oh, lovely introduction, Lex. Do you care to speak to the meaning of your name, or the some of the groups that you've been holding for the last couple of years?
So I would say that if there is such a thing as being it all being set up, like your parents and your situation and some sort of arrangement occurring, then my genetics are Germanic, possibly, the concentration camp guards, and also sort of Romany gypsy, so possibly the people in the concentration camps. I'm a Gemini, and my parents, the range between them, the difference between my mum, who's kind of angelic, and my father was extreme. And so polarity, duality, and resolving them is part of my journey. And truth and description, I think it's not an accident that my name is Alexis, which is odd for an English person. This is way before all the cool kids called their daughters Alexis. And it means protector, and Lex means the word, So I'm not saying I'm brilliant or anything, but if I have a job, if that's my job title, that's what I do. I try and,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Lex. Really grateful to have you here in our circle tonight. And like, I feel like we have such a powerhouse of a group. Like, I'm really happy for each one of your bright souls to be here and to be both sharing in this conversation and getting this conversation started, because I see all of you as like real like light keepers of this conversation, you know, and that you're already doing it in your own lives. And so feels really potent to have us all here together tonight. And my night, I'm here in England as well. And with that, I want to pass the mic around one more time for another little 2 to 3 minute drop in of
Don't you want to introduce you before we move on to the next?
introduce myself.
Yeah.
Good call, Rick.
All right, let me see. Where am I? I'm your host tonight, and will be as invisible as possible. that's the goal. People can find out about me through many ways, but just for as in way of an introduction. Yeah, I grew up in Virginia and North Carolina. Lived out on an area called the Outer Banks until I was in my early 30s, and then picked up and moved out to Kauai and the island of Kauai, and lived out there for 8 years before moving to East Coast Canada in Quebec. Was there for about a year and a half, and then moved to West Coast Canada, and then was in Vancouver for a couple of years, and have been on a nomadic journey for the last couple of years with my partner Becky, who I want to say a big thank you to for all of her love and support, because with her love and support, I'm here tonight and able to do this. And I have a deep yearning to have the conversation with the whole planet and with all humans on it. And that ache has been inside of me for years, and I don't know how to address that. And so this has been a dream coming to the surface within me. And I've been maybe talking about it for almost a year, and out loud, and some people know. And it's finally, today's the first day that I've gathered, you know, this group together to record this, because having this conversation is one thing, recording it and offering it out is to me like the next level of beginning to plant the idea of this conversation in the hearts and minds of many. And I'm going to invite everyone, whoever listens to this recording, to please share your comments back, write your questions, contact me, contact any one of the people on this platform. And if you would like to participate in a recording, we would love to have you. If you would like to suggest things we talk about or give us your perspective on what we talk about, we would love to hear that as well. I have a website called osharua.com where I offer what I call spiritual evolution consultant, and what it means to lose your faith in this life and find it again, and what it means to keep growing when everything you believe in dissolves. Who are you? What are you? And how do we continue that journey? And how do we find new truth? And how do we hold our truth? And how do we let it move us and guide us in this life? And that's a lot about who I am and what I am. And with that, I will move us gracefully into our next middle stage here, in which I like to ask everyone to host themselves into presence in a way of, we've arrived here tonight, and if there's anything that's strong in your present field of today, yesterday, this week, this month, that's like really pulling on you or tugging on you that you need to speak to be fully present, this is an opportunity to kind of just get real for a minute. And without talking about the whole world, we can talk about our own hearts, our bodies. And because that's, I feel, the real starting place for all truth to happen, is to locate it within us and what we're moving through right now. And so I'll offer that out. If anyone would like to speak something into the space to begin to ground and center themselves into our discussion.
I have something.
Mm,
Couple things. The first thing is that our community is going through a restabilization, and they're asking for more investment. So I've been asked to work more hours, and I'm totally willing. And it's also bringing me to the edge of my physical labor capacity.
Mm.
So I feel like I'm really being stretched right now into my masculine, and so I'm present with that.
mhm,
And I'm also present with this temple that wants to be built at my house, behind my house, up on this hillside, and the vision has come through so clearly. And I've talked to the owners, and they support. And so I purchased the posts for it. They're very specific posts called Kiave wood.
mhm,
That's a very hard wood that you bury into the ground. You maybe know of it. You can bury it into the ground, and it never rots or molds or anything. And I bought the posts for it, and I said, I'm ready. I'm ready to do this thing. And then it got paused immediately. And the part of the land that I live on, we don't technically own, and we're leasing it. And so there's all of this subdivision happening. And I'm interfacing this concept of land ownership that I don't align with. I think land ownership is a complete illusion, but it's pausing the temple from being constructed because that now there are new permissions that are needed from someone that owns the land that I've never met.
mhm,
So I'm present with that.
mhm, mm. Thank you, Rua. Thank you. Yeah, I'm hearing that there's like a lot of pausing going on. There's like excitement building. There's things being kind of pushed to your thresholds, and you're having to just kind of stay present with it, even though it's kind of maybe taxing your energies and stretching you a bit. And there's some kind of limbo it's putting you in. Is that feeling right? Huh.
Sensations. It's a momentum, and then a loss of momentum. And then there's a sensation of a balancing, sort of a teeter tottering, and really wanting to stay in that center point so that I'm not tipping too far, and I can be really grounded with anything that arises.
Mm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm also hearing that it's kind of requiring your full participation, and you seem to be like willing to be offering that, despite the fact it's not necessarily moving in the direction you want. You're still showing up. Something there.
Yes. Because I believe in it.
Mhm. Is anybody else feeling Rua? Wanna?
Yeah, it's awkward, that stuff, you know, like you're ready to go, you're ready to put down foundations, you're ready to build, you've got a vision, you've got the energy, you want to bring it through and make it manifest and make the world a better place, and then stuff happens. Yeah.
And having that trust, trusting the ripeness, trusting that even when I receive a vision, that doesn't mean that I know when it's meant to manifest, and that I can hold that vision in tenderness like a seed that I put into the ground and keep watering it until it sprouts. And there's a moment in time where it's not strong enough on its own just from the rainwater to live. And I need to tend to it and baby it. And so that's what I'm doing. I feel that I'm just holding on to that vision.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Thank you for speaking that vision into this circle tonight. May this space help it to help its growth to happen. Mhm. Mm. Thank you for opening our circle with something that's real for you. Appreciate it. Anyone else feeling something that they would like to acknowledge in their space that was tugging on their guts or their hearts or stealing their attention or their presence right now?
think I've got something as well.
And,
And it's a little bit in a similar direction of being pulled in different ways. And for me, it's very much that I run a business, and which was my parents' business, and I run that now. I took that over 6 years ago, so it has become mine, and I love it very much. Yet it is not my soul's work, but I still run it, and it still pays the bills, it pays my rent, and it's like, it's something I can't give up. I don't want to give up, but at the same time, right now, there are so many ideas sprouting within, and this huge pull to move into some big visions that I have and dreams that I have of new projects I want to start. And I often find myself right now in the frustration that my body can only handle so much work, and kind of being pushed to the physical limits of how much I can spend time at the computer and create and work and do. And that's been very present for me today and in the past few days, when my body clearly showed me I had been doing too much, and yeah, put me into bed with a really bad migraine, the worst I've had in a long while. So that's been really present. So it's still sort of lingering a little bit. So I sometimes feel like I need a minute longer to think about my words, but it's already on the mend. It's already getting so much better, but that's something that's present for me right now.
Yeah, that there's limits to or should I say our creative potential needs a certain amount of our presence and energy, and if we give it all to other things, it doesn't ever, we're not honoring it, and nothing will get birthed from it. You know, if we're just performing duties constantly, we can be short of the energy we need to birth our own visions and creative potentials. Is that the struggle? Is the like having enough time for one or the other? Is that kind of what your voice?
Yeah, I think I'm really learning to find the balance between the two, and really find the sweet spot of being with all that is right now without falling into a certain direction, and also without being judgmental about what is, and giving my body and my creativity the space that it needs to thrive. Because that's my word for the year. My word for the year is thrive. So I think that's why this is coming up. I'm really being pushed to look into what does it mean for me to thrive? And I feel like life is showing me right now in what ways I need to learn to change things in order to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm hearing is boundaries and an invitation for a deeper containment.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
I'm hearing too that's like the ball's in your court, like the way you just spoke that last sentence about like life's throwing you certain things and it's seeing how you handle it. And it's kind of like maybe it's the same things it keeps throwing you every year, but you're having like a new opportunity to like claim something in there as well. Mm-hmm. I like it.
I had another piece come up for me when I received her share. If it's okay for me to share one more piece. So last night I was in a ritual, and these army jets have been flying around because they have a station the next island over on the Big Island, and they've been flying closer and closer. And last night they flew so low that it shook my house, and it felt very active, and my nervous system shot up, and it took me time to actually breathe and restabilize. And so I'm actually also really holding this intention for that invasiveness and the military doing their practice run stuff to not be a part of our soundscape invading our soundscape and really sitting with that wound of what it's like for boundaries not to be respected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How disturbing it is when it's even our own military, let alone the fear it must invoke when someone else has to hear that that's not their military over their head.
I do not have a military. It is not my military. I don't believe in military or the need for military.
I'm with you on that one. Mm-hmm. 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 Anyone else like to?
I'm a talker. I'm holding back. So I think Mano.
No, I think you got it. Go for it, Lex, if you have it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just, for the first time in a long time, I'm feeling more possibility and potential and for good things, like it's kind of swirling. We're in a vortex of heightened everything. Everything's amplified. The bad stuff's amplified, but I feel like the good stuff's amplified as well. It's just finding the way to navigate one and towards the other, you know? And that is a skill, and everything's changing so quickly, from week to week, but I'm feeling these massive waves of almost like dream-like conversation between people. And I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm really happy at the moment about it because, I've been in this mindset since I was born, and it's never been like this, like people have not been this activated, even on any level, even just, all the different levels. So just, I wish it would go a bit faster. That's the only thing. Let's get it done, right?
Yeah.
Might as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're ready and we know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Mano, how about you? You have something you want to speak into the space?
I think my challenge is not what to speak. It's like a choosing. There's too many topics that I'm contemplating. So I'm trying to see which one feels like a more closer to my heart or closer to the surface that wants to come through. Maybe I'll speak to the piece that I'm really working with right now in relationship to integrating back into society. Because that's the piece I oftentimes get into arguments with or question a lot about. So like I was saying, I lived, last 3 years in a community. And then the past year, I basically worked for myself, creating food forest permaculture work on Bowen Island, which is where I actually met Shane. Now coming back into Fort Lauderdale, Florida, it's like, in a way, it feels like I'm in the thick of it because it's only like 30 minutes away from Miami. It's one of the busiest cities. And I really question myself because being in a community where I was making something like, I don't know, like $6,000 a year, which is nothing. Even though like all my things were taken care of, like my housing was taken care of, my food was taken care of. I was surrounded by so many beautiful people all around. Here I come here, the household I live in, they make like $100,000 a month. And I'm like, what? Just kind of understanding and just seeing the way in which how we all live, like how different society function. And, it really makes me question, I mean, my heart is full when I'm in a community, but I'm also being told that I'm running away from my responsibility, and that the real way to be in the matrix, you have to integrate it and to build or change the matrix from within. So it's all these like a different inflicting ideas, and not to mention, given the fact that I have experienced trauma, I have been through trauma, so the trauma brains wants to lean toward what is comfortable, what is easy. So that's also another layer of complex that I'm working with, and to learn to stay aware of all these different pieces. Yeah, so like I said, there's a lot of it's like a multifaceted. It's not just like a one straightforward answer to this question, but I'm curious to hear, as I share this, what is moving through each of you? What are you hearing, and what's resonates, and what's alive?
Who's telling
Okay.
you that you're running?
I think
Uh,
for me, what I see is that in a best situation, a best scenario, whatever you want to describe people like us as, I think there are different roles in groups, and we've been separated into individuals. And naturally, as groups, I think there would be people who would fill roles. And I think one of our problems is we're being called to fill all the roles, which means we're so many different places at once, and then you don't get the best out of us. And we know that we're not where we could be, where we would be able to be brilliant and bold and outstanding. And so we're compromised into this sort of mediocrity. And I think there's a damage that comes just from that. Ideally, we would be supported and seen to be doing the work that we do. It would be acknowledged and appreciated, and we wouldn't be pulled in all these directions, and then we'd be able to give back even more. Is that somewhere in the region?
Definitely. I mean, it's definitely that's definitely like a one way of perceiving the whole concept. And to respond back to what Ru was saying, I've heard that from my ayahuasca facilitator, the people that I do medicine work with, because of the reasoning for that is, like they were saying, because of the trauma brain, it's always looking for the easy way out. Whereas in these communities, I tend to just become zen, like in a very and I do want to say that with the most amount of respect, because I feel, I'm at peace. So yeah, so it's definitely it's something I'm sitting with. It's not an easy thing for me to even like digest in so many ways, but I do take in whatever that's coming to me. I look at them as information, and I question, what is bringing this within me. So there's a lot of contemplation and a lot of back and forth.
I'm getting I'm getting pinged pretty strongly. I get really fired up when the facilitators of medicine space tell others what to do, because I hear you say they're telling me that I'm running from my responsibilities. I don't hear any space for your heart and your own guidance in that. And it doesn't do for me, because I didn't really get a sense of how you feel about it and what you feel like is happening, because your roommates make $100,000 a month. So what? How is their heart? How is the quality of their life? You've lived in community, so you know this. You know the difference between what's truly valuable and the perceived concepts of value in society and in culture that are illusionary in nature, because we are meant to live tribally and communally and fill those roles. As Lex was saying, we have purpose and meaning in stewardship. So when we're in the matrix or we're in society, we have a hard time tuning in to our intuition and to our guidance, because everyone's telling us what we should and shouldn't do. And then we're taking that on, we're taking it in as our own, but it's not our own.
Definitely. And I definitely resonate with that. And, nor do I believe in like, what you're sharing in regards to earlier about like having a land ownership. Yet since the time I guess like people came in, like it took over like all the native land. The land ownership is the thing, but not necessarily believing in that doesn't make us that, you know, we don't necessarily have to do that, because we are trapped in a system that I believe and that I see that you do need a piece of land in if you want to have some sort of a security, right? So that security piece definitely brings fear when I tune into that. So it's not something I necessarily want to admit, but that fear is present. It's more alive these days than the inspiration itself. It's almost like it just kind of chews up the whole inspiration and just spits it out. And it's like, oh no.
Well, know that the fear is intentional. The fear is part of the conditioning and is intentional, purposeful, and very intentional. And when I heard you say we're trapped in a system, I'm not trapped in a system. My body, my heart is saying, no, we're not trapped. That is an intentional program that you've ingested, that they want you to feel trapped so that you don't empower yourself.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. I definitely want to come back to that piece about like being intentional with the word. I think that's something Shane also mentioned in the beginning.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, but I'd say both those things are real. Like, we're both, you don't get to just bypass the matrix and step out of it. But I also agree with Rio, we're not trapped in it. And the idea that we're trapped in it is part of the matrix to believe that. You know, it wants you to believe that. And I think we're all stuck there because we know to exit solo is not necessarily the easiest or the complete answer either. There's more a need for us to unify the collective mind and migrate and stop giving our power to that which enslaves us, and to start to create that which we believe in. And we, like Lex was saying, we need the whole group to do it because we're here to be specialized individuals within the group mind and the group container. Claire, I would like to hear your voice on this.
Yeah, I think what really comes up for me is that it feels also like something that is quite unique to the individual and to the role that each individual soul has intended or is intending to play within this. Because I feel like there will be those who will have this mission of becoming the example of, for example, this kind of living that is in tune with the earth and in tune with nature, and who will be the living example for that within, for example, communities, and will build this example for others to see and to recognize an alternative and to recognize in potential. And I think at the same time, there will also be those who will do the same thing, but maybe they will do it, so to say, within the system. Like they are still existing, for example, in corporations, and they're, so to say, in it, but that is their right place to be, because there they bring change from this soul level into something that is totally misaligned with the vision and with the dream, the potential of the future that they hold. But for them, that is the place to be an emanation of this change and embodiment of the potential of the future. So I feel like there are so many different ways this can play out. And I feel like you can be like in the system without being part of the system almost, or like be in the matrix without being plugged into it. And I think that's just kind of part of like changing it from the inside out. And that's been something I've been contemplating quite a lot as well. So that's really present.
Yeah. So this is, I think this is a huge subject. It's the subject. It's like everything. It's like history, the future, is everything, isn't it? But I mean, I think what I'd like to say right now is that is the dilemma: is, do you consider it to be an impossible task to be something that changes things, or to respect and love your right to have your best life, and so have a best life, use your wisdom, use your decision making, the discernment, and find a way to be to be happy and to be at peace to some degree, and to sort of have a good life, and say, well, I made my choice and I let everyone make their choice? Or do you get into the murky area where you go, I'm going to change things? Because as soon as you get into that area, and that's where I am, by the way, as soon as you get into that area, you're into this sort of thing where it's like free will. Well, this is everyone's free will. People wanted to fuck things up this badly. They wanted to live this stupidly. Who am I to tell them otherwise? You know, because then you're into sort of like, there shouldn't be control structures. We don't need governments. Money is bad, blah, blah, blah. But I've looked at this for as long as I think, you know, I've looked at it long enough to come to the conclusion that the structures are natural. All of the things in the matrix and the matrix are not the problem. The problem is that somebody has decided to inhabit the controlling aspects of it, and that those people are malevolent, psychopathic, devilish. They're the worst possible, way of controlling things. And so things now are of them, right? And so when people talk about the matrix, it's like, we need to destroy the matrix. Well, the matrix, I don't see it that way. I see that what we need to do is take back ownership of the matrix and make it something beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that dilemma, right? Because I've got loads of friends who are basically living decent lives, and they're nice people, and they are trying to find the hidden places, the safe spaces, the where can I go for the next 10 years and get away with it. And I think that time is nearly up, personally. I don't want to sound too negative, but it's time to make a fucking stand.
Yeah.
And that does mean everywhere, in the structures, everywhere.
I love what you're saying, Lex. I want to just put a question to the group here. Mono, like, even when you were sharing, you said something about the dilemma of like, do you change the matrix from inside of it or outside of it, or do you change it from within or without? And like, if I'm quoting you correctly, and I want to kind of put that as a question back to the group based on what Lex is sharing here. Like, what's your vision? What's each one of your vision of how does change happen? Or is change, like, where's your hope or belief around change even?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good question. I mean, when I tune in with myself, what I do feel called to do, it's almost like you're working from both ends. So imagine matrix is like a big bowl, and those of us who choose to want to be in the matrix perhaps work from within the matrix to create something beautiful. That's something I resonate with. I mean, that is to say that right now the matrix isn't beautiful. I mean, some aspect of it, I personally think it's not beautiful. But then again, if I were to talk to my cousin, she'd be like, it's perfect, just the way it is. But then again, it's all come back to perspective. But going back to the question, I'd say I see myself as like a working from the outside. Maybe Ru can resonate with this, like when the beings are awakened, take them and just like show them, hey, look what we have created here. And a lot of the people I've talked to who live in communities, and even the community owner who created the community I used to live in, he says he's creating infrastructure for beings who are ready to come into, and that this is what will be needed in the future, from the vision that he has received, the guidance he has received. But here's the same catch. It's something exactly what Ru said. The timing of it is nobody knows, because spirit has a way of doing things. The timing of it, nobody knows, just creating the structures and working with it. So that's how I see it, perhaps working from within and without, on the outside. And I see myself being it outside, because I like the bigger perspective, because from the inside, I notice myself being like just squashed with all these energies, and I can only so much I can transmute at a time. That's me.
Thank you, Mana. That was encouraging to hear that perspective. I have my own strong thoughts on this, but I would like to hear others.
I like this question because I wanted to speak to it anyway about change. And I know that some people are frontliners, and I'm not one of those. I'm primarily a hermit, so I can only speak from that perspective. And for me, there is nothing to change. I've tried to go into situations, systems, communities to try to change things. It's not the way. When I first got here, I thought, hey, we should build more structures and have more people on the land. And what if we did a potluck and had more community events? And they weren't into it. And I got discouraged. Oh, they're not ready for change. And but actually now, later, they're talking about building more structures. They want to get together more often. And I planted those seeds, but it wasn't for me to change anything or to change anyone, but just to bring that inspiration and allow people to naturally sprout up when the conditions are right. Every plant has its own, some plants like a lot of water, some plants like full sun. I don't know the conditions that are needed for those changes. It's not up to me. All I can do is live by the example in the ways that I'm being guided, but it's not my kuleana, is what we call it, purpose to change anything or anybody else. All I can do that for is me. And then if someone's inspired by what they see and they start to lean in and they're awakening and they're ready, that's different. There's a willingness there, there's a ripeness. But if that's not present, there is no change that's needed. It will form. Nature knows what she's doing. It will happen as it's ready to happen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I just want to take this moment to engage the greater audience that either listens to this conversation or watches this video. I would love to get feedback from as many as possible about yeah, do we change the matrix from within or without? Where is your stance on that? How do you see it? How does your vision of the future look? How do you see humanity arriving at its highest potential? What is your vision for that, and how do we get there? And I would love feedback from our greater audience who tunes into this conversation. And now I would like, we're already an hour and 10 minutes in with a kind of a 90-minute goal for our conversation. So we got about 20 minutes left. And something very special about this group energy and this conversation is this part that we're about to do next, which is kind of a different energy. We're going to take a moment to center ourselves, get present with ourselves, and we're going to do what I call channel our highest self. And maybe everyone has a different understanding of what the higher self is. And I will leave it to you to find the meaning and the understanding of that. But your soul, your spirit, your some people think of guardian angels, but it would even be that which is you in your oldest, truest essence. And we're going to take a moment to channel our higher self to basically tune in with the discussion so far. In a way, it seems very brief, like we're barely cracking it open, but we just want to call in what we've heard discussed so far tonight, and how we've been touched by the meeting of these new people tonight, and everybody's input into the conversation. And we would like to gather what we're hearing is maybe a theme coming through all of our words, an intention, a wisdom that's passing through the group energy field. And we want to speak that back into the container of kind of maybe like the strongest wisdom or takeaway that's coming through tonight, as well as feel free to add in anything that your channel feels needs to be said before we close out tonight. And with that, we'll just take a moment, take 30 seconds to take a deep breath. When your gathered voice is ready, go ahead and speak.
I'm witnessing a theme of collective evolution. I'm witnessing readiness and self-awareness. I'm witnessing each of us grounding into and embodying our placement.
Mm-hmm.
Wish to invite trust, ease, and grace.
Mm.
And within finding this placement, I see us as dancers.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like we're dancing around our visions, and it's a beautiful dance. It's like a dance around a fire.
Mm.
And I think some of us are dancing also at the edge of the matrix, if that's what we want to call it, or yeah, at the edge of, at the border of the seen and the unseen, and the doorstep between the known and the unknown. And I feel as if we're dancing between two worlds, and with this dance we are weaving potential together. And it feels as if this dance is what weaves together the old and the new and turns it into a bridge between timelines and a bridge into the future. And I feel like we all have our individual, unique music in a way to which we dance. But when we all dance to this song, they all play together and it becomes a symphony.
Mm. Mm. Thank you, Claire. I like that imagery.
I feel like me and Mano are having a staring contest.
Yeah.
I told you I'm a talker, Mano. It's on you, bro.
I'll acknowledge that this is a challenge to kind of speak in a new way or to call in a new voice. And it's something we're practicing right here in front of each other. So there's no way to do it wrong. And go for it and share what's on your heart, what's coming through.
I mean, for me, it's definitely brings more clarity as we begin to have these conversations, begin to merge our ideas and our output, our perceptions. The way I see it is that we all have a different perceptions, and as we begin to share them out loud, we begin to merge them. It's almost like the eggs that's cracking.
Mm.
So for me, it's definitely good to bring in these new beings with different ideas. I mean, a lot of this, which I really appreciate and resonate with, at the same time, also, do notice myself, similar to what Clara also shared, between the two worlds, the world of the mind and the world of the heart, the world of the community and the world of the matrix. It's those polarities, and just keep noticing myself like diving between those two worlds and finding myself like a pendulum and asking myself, which way do I swing, or do I just accept the swing and just to be in that flow? So I feel like we are creating clarity in these conversations, and it's a journey. It's a journey itself. I'm curious to see where this would lead us. Genuine curiosity, and I'm really grateful for the space to go through this exploration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mono.
I'm learning the rhythm and the energies of everyone here, but I would be excited next time to dig into some details rather than stick with the mean level of labeling or the veneer and standard descriptions. I'd like to pull everything apart and go right into the details. When we use the term matrix, what do you mean? What do I mean? What could it mean? I'd really like to pull it all apart, go right into it, rebuild it properly, if that was possible.
Mhm. Mhm.
Anything is possible.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I guess I would say that maybe a theme coming through is that pull between a couple of like different things that are stretching us a bit in different directions, and in that stretch there's a lack of clarity on what our truth is, because we're kind of being compromised in our truth in the right and in the left, and having to find how to navigate that, and knowing that it's going to be out of its center for maybe longer than we want before we can step it back into our center. And there's a navigation in there. I'm feeling also a collective almost like personal power building that's like ready to act and ready to move. It's like a pregnant energy in the group tonight that's like been poised for action for a very long time, and eager to see what can be done. And yeah, both excited for the potential, and maybe even a taste of impatience on the like of it, on the edge of like needing to see the group energy like arrive together for maybe something we're all yearning. I feel like there's lots of overlap in our visions, maybe less differences than we even expected. There's some fear and hesitancy to speak, maybe out of how much conflict and controversy there is in our world around us right now. But I feel that maybe that is not as delicate or pressing within this circle. There's more spaciousness here and more willingness to cooperate get together and work together. Mm, mm.
I would like to plant a seed with a question.
Yeah.
What is beyond compromise?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Agreement.
And not to be answered, but to plant the seed of what could be beyond compromise. Because even answering that question already starts to limit it, but to let it marinate a little bit, to
Mm-hmm.
plant that seed into what wants to grow without needing to fulfill an answer, but to allow it to reveal over time.
I think me and you are being the masculine and feminine here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Lex and Rua both kind of proposed questions or subjects that they would like to see discussed in our next meeting together. And maybe Mano, you or Clara have something that you would feel would be the tip of your tongue that you would like to see discussed or attention given to the next time we come together.
For me, the question about compromise really lights something up because it very much reflects the image that I'm getting for myself right now, which is this dance between worlds and this dance between ways of being, the old and the new. It's very much this seeking of something beyond compromise in the existence within this paradox, because I feel that compromise for me is not the answer, but I also don't know what the answer is. So this question is very, very beautiful, and I'm really grateful for this question right now, because when I heard it, it feels like it's opening the heart so much.
Thanks for sharing that, Clara. And I think I'm with you in that sense. And to continue to go down like a deeper into what we've been discussing, it seems like we're coming to end of a world in certain ways according to so many beliefs, and going into a new, and what that might look like and what are the possibilities of that. Yeah, there's some speculation and some ideas. Curious to definitely dive deeper into that. If you're all on a similar page, I think it would be a good topic to discuss.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah, what is beyond compromise? What is it when we deconstruct the words and the meanings? And maybe what I would like to get into in more clarity that covers this, that would include both these topics, is a little bit of put some words to what our highest vision for humanity's future is. And I'm not talking necessarily even 500 years out. I'm talking like 10 years out, 20 years out, within our lifetime. And I would like to hear some, visions of that, like real beliefs of where you see and feel humanity can be arriving before your life comes to a close here on this planet. Mm-hmm. And with that, I'm going to bring our recording to a close. And before I do, I just want to open the floor one last time if there's any final words or goodbyes before I close our circle out tonight?
I would just like to bring attention to our hearts and this love and this mutual respect that we've been cultivating, and to invoke it, to ripple out to everyone that's listening, and also everyone, all of the relations of everyone that's listening, so that it may be more accessible to have truth and openness and awakening in everyone's lives that this touches.
Thank you, Rua.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Well, may the conversations that we have here like move people, inspire them, help them to have these conversations with the people in their communities and families. And may also the way that we have these conversations be inspiring as well. May we set new standards of templates of how decision making can happen, how we can govern ourselves through group discussion like this, how we can create change in the world we want to see through gathering together just like this. So thank you all for being here. I look forward to another conversation, and we will begin creating that as soon as we close out tonight. So thank you for all who have listened, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Good night. Ooh.